This is Andi Purewal, Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm in Leeds and I'm joined by $1 million Crolla. Anthony, firstly, how are you?
Mate, I'm good. I'm you know what? Really looking forward to this fight. Not just me, but I think seeing the shape that Josh is in and speaking to him, his dad. I think we're going to see a big performance on Saturday night. But yeah, all good otherwise. Before that, I was at Peter Fury's gym with my fighters. Straight here, so boxing, mate.
Before we do come on to other topics, let's start off with a reason why we are in Leeds. Martinez 2, or Martinez-Warrington 2 rather. Yes. And when you compare this fight in contrast with what we saw those years ago when they previously shared the ring, how much more of a different proposition does Kiko pose, or does this fight become?
I think it's a very different fight, and it's one thing about Kiko Martinez, you can never count him out because of the power that he carries. I think that was no more evident than what we seen last time out. And for me, I think Kiko Galahad looked totally in control, and one shot changed it all, which it can do in boxing. So, you've got to remember as well, Kiko's going to be, he looks in great shape. Josh, I think, looks in fantastic shape. I think both fighters see this. It's sort of, who would have fought 5 years ago, we're back here in the same place thinking, not thinking, it's actually taking place, that for a world title again, Josh and Kiko.
What is your thoughts in terms of your prediction on it? Again, we spoke about how different it will be, but how do you think it will swing?
Do you know what I think? I think we see, obviously, I think Josh is going to be super switched on, but I really do see a big performance coming from him. Not just bias and that, I've got a lot of time for Josh, mate of mine and that, but I just think defensively, very good defensively, I think he's going to be switched on. Kiko felt like he was hard done by last time, and people had split opinions. I thought Josh done enough. But this time, I see him setting a pace, and I believe that Kiko will come, but I believe doesn't have too much success, and you can't let Kiko have too much success. And I believe Josh can win it late on, so at 9-10 rounds.
And as a former fighter yourself, I'm sure you'll have some words or some opinion on this, which I'll put to you now. I've had people ask me and kind of bring to my attention the difficult fights that Josh has had during his career, and you look back at the Lara fights, granted the second one didn't go on for too long, but still he was just starting to warm up. People are starting to question how much that will take out of him in terms of his punch resistance, how much he will stand up. Do you understand those concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the first fight with Lara was a horrible night for Josh, and it is the kind of fight that takes years off your career. You come out with a lot of injuries, and from the start, it was a bad night for him. And I'm thinking that he's certainly at this stage in his career where I was sort of speaking to him then, but he looks as fresh as ever, and he puts in a big performance Saturday night. There's an handful of fights left, but I think Josh knows he's certainly in the last few years of his career. We'll see what happens Saturday night. But it looks very well. There's still some big fights out there for him. But yeah, there's no denying. It takes its toll on the body, punch resistance, all those things do happen in fights like that.
And away from this fight and this card, I just want to touch on a few other topics. Go back into your old division, the lightweight division. Obviously, we've seen what's happening with Vasily Lomachenko out in the Ukraine. Obviously, thoughts with him, everybody out there. Hopefully, see him back soon once things are resolved. But boxing goes on, and we'll potentially see the Kambosos-Haney fight. If that one gets rubber stamped and goes ahead, what are your thoughts?
It's I think after Kambosos with his effort against Lopez, what a great night for him. You can never really rule him out, but I think there's something about Haney where I believe he'll find a way to win against most fighters. There's a little bit of, obviously there's the comparisons to Mayweather. I'm not saying he's a good Mayweather, but like stylistically and how he'll find a way to win. I think he might do that, but as you know what, I think Haney's definitely tight out the weight. Kambosos fights like a man possessed, and I believe he'll do that again, especially if it happens in Australia. I believe he's that kind of character who feeds off that. I believe, listen, I've said it, you've got to say Kambosos is the man. I believe the best lightweight on the planet is Lomachenko, but you've got to say that type belongs to Kambosos because he's the man who beat the man. But I'll probably see Haney points.
Away from that one, but sticking with another Ukrainian boxer, Alexander Usyk, some reports coming out late last night that he may well be taking that Anthony Joshua rematch now.
No, I don't know. I believe that just a few hours ago. The manager of the Kambosos management team, he said it's not true. So I presume it's not true.
I did. So all that I've seen from Igis' tweets that is that because Alexander's got 3 children under the age of 18, he was legally allowed to leave the Ukraine anyway. He didn't need special permission from the Ukrainian government.
Yes, well, okay, but if he does leave, and that's a great fight again, isn't it? And listen, it's an hard fight for Anthony Joshua after how the first fight went, and it's just what changes can be made with AJ. I know he's since announced he's working full time with Angel Fernandez, and that's it. Listen, there's no denying. I think you've got to make Usyk a favourite after the style in which he won last time, but with someone, the athleticism, can't say it, and size, natural size advantage and power that AJ carries, you know, it's going to be exciting to watch.
If it doesn't end up being Alexander, though, obviously there was a list of names mentioned: Deontay Wilder, Joe Joyce, Wallin and Luis Ortiz. What are your thoughts on any of those guys? The general consensus seems to be the 2 southpaws in Wallin and Ortiz would be better for AJ's career leading into the Usyk fight, but the ones the fans want is either Joyce or Wilder.
Of course it is, yeah, of course either or is, and that's what I'd much rather see. But I think if he's going to fight Usyk next, it does realistically make sense for him to fight Wallin or Ortiz. And I believe they're both fights where he comes out. I'd have him a favourite. As good as Ortiz is, I think he's brilliant. I think he can't go on forever. I don't know how old he really is, without being disrespectful. I think he technically is one of the best heavyweight, or probably is the best heavyweight on the planet, in Usyk. But I think even, I know Joyce has been a little bit vocal, and I'm a big Joe Joyce fan, and that'd be an unbelievable. That'd be the one I'd want to watch from a fan's point of view. But I think if you're being sensible, looking after AJ, you think get him with a southpaw. I know they're not Usyk, you've not got the feet of Usyk, but it makes sense to prepare him for someone like that.
And away from that one, just touch on a fight we saw in Manchester a month ago, Amir Khan and Cal Brook. Since then, Amir Khan seems to be considering his ring return. Seems like he wants to fight on. Just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't really want that to happen. I've got a lot of time for Amir. I've known him since he was about 11, 12 years of age. He's had an unbelievable career. I'd much rather him enjoy retirement with his family. There's plenty of new ventures. He's inspired a generation. He's inspired thousands of young fighters. He's inspired so many people, you know, from that 17-year-old lad in the Olympics. It's an amazing career. I'd love to see him call it a day now. I'd probably love to see him call it a day just before the Kel fight, to be honest. But if he wants to carry on, you know, obviously that's down to him. But I'd like it to be a very, you know, careful opponent.
Mr. Anthony Crolla, I appreciate your time now. I'll leave you to shoot off and enjoy the rest of your day and your evening. Thanks for speaking to me in Boxing Solution.
Always good to see you, man.